Part 73. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 723. Boom. All those silver ripples were placed on a black cauldron. The Demon Lord Cauldron did not disappoint Zhang Zizai. It could not only avoid ordinary attacks, but also attacks at the soul level. He stood in the center of the vortex of the Tianxin Chaos Demon Song, but nothing happened to him. Others saw him open his arms and thought he was confused. Unfortunately, there was no fluctuation in his heart, and he even wanted to laugh. He could only say that the Demon Lord Cauldron was too powerful. Chu Chen had never broken it. The Tianxin Chaos Demon Song of Xuanhuan Chushan was also almost useless to Zhang Zizai. When people cheered, only Xuanhuan Chushan herself knew very well that Zhang Zizai was unharmed. The double attack she relied on the most was directly destroyed by Zhang Zizai by half. If the Tianxin Chaos Demon Song continued to be ineffective, she would lose part of her lethality. What treasure is this? Xuanhuan Chushan was obviously unprepared for the Demon Lord Cauldron. The real ancient god uses the most precious treasure. Zhang Zizai was not afraid of scaring her. Dream on. Xuanhuan Chushan controlled the Moonlight Clone and directly strengthened the attack, exerting the Tianxin's chaotic magic song to the extreme, directly picking up the more violent attack of Xuanhuan, mainly using illusions to directly disturb the mind. Such means can even make people lose their minds, go crazy and commit suicide, or even kill their relatives. When the Tianxin's chaotic magic song became more violent, people just wanted to see Zhang Zizai being completely suppressed, but what they never expected was that he stood there very calmly, and then a bow and an arrow appeared in his hand. Those were the Holy Soul Sky Bow and the soul-piercing heart arrow obtained in the Teiku Demon Tomb. Although they were obtained from ordinary demon tombs, they were also dry-level totem divine weapons after all, and their power was definitely not worse than the Silver Moon Sky Harp and Silver Moon Sky Sword. In fact, Zhang Zizai had too many treasures on him, and he also had Zhang Fanshan's Holy Emperor Sky Sword and Chu Chen's Holy Brilliance Mirror in his hands. Except for the Holy Mirror, he didn't need other weapons and had prepared to distribute them to the people around him. However, he found the Holy Soul Sky Bow and the soul-piercing heart arrow very interesting. In this moment, facing the violent attack of the Silver Moon Lyre, Zhang Zizai was very neat and clean. He bent the bow and put the arrow on it. The violent power of the source of destruction was completely infused into the Holy Soul Sky Bow. Crackling. At this moment, Zhang Zizai finally exerted the power of his Taiji beginning Demon Dragon Totem. The beginning Demon Dragon transformation was carried out at the same time as the bow was drawn. Countless black and white yin and yang fish entangled dragon scales appeared outside his body. In this moment, he felt like he had changed from a human to the highest quality super source beast in the world. The ancient, fierce, and brutal aura soared into the sky, suppressing the entire Shen zone for a while. People looked at this almost perfect fighting machine woodenly. Until this moment, they probably really admitted in their hearts that Zhang Zizai's horror had long exceeded their imagination. At this time, the Holy Soul Sky Bow was fully drawn, and Zhang Zizai instantly locked the Moonlight Clone with the most violent power. Before Xuanhuan Chushan could react, the soul-piercing heart arrow suddenly shot out. It was just a moment, and this speed was so fast that it exceeded the limit of the human world. Almost in an instant, people had seen the Moonlight Clone suddenly shattered, turning into countless moonlight fragments and disappearing between heaven and earth. The Moonlight Clone was a condensation of a soul of Xuanhuan Chushan. The core was afraid of the power of the soul-piercing heart arrow, so it was directly restrained and shattered by an arrow. Such a scene was a huge blow to the disciples of the divine sect. But the key is that no matter how big the blow is, this is just the beginning. People have seen Xuanhuan Chushan's face change greatly, and they have seen Zhang Zizai leave his original position. When the Demon Lord Cauldron surrounded him, he held the killing god Xianbing and killed Xuanhuan Chushan directly. At this moment, his rotating Tai Chi eyes looked extremely cold and terrifying. I didn't expect that you would get such a good fortune after going to the well of the divine realm once. The eyes of Xuanhuan were full of resentment, and in the resentment, the lofty attitude that once belonged to the superior had disappeared. At this moment, Zhang Zizai really made her feel threatened. Are you scared? In the spotlight, Zhang Zizai rushed to the front of Xuanhuan. How could I be afraid of you? Xuanhuan held the silver moon sky sword. After the death of her clone, she did not completely collapse, but remained calm and directly swung the sword to kill. You will be scared. Zhang Zizai smiled at the corner of his mouth. You will not live if you do evil. I will ask for the debt you owe me. You dare to kidnap my brother and offend my reverse scale again. What is your reverse scale? Xuanhuan sneered, and the sword in her hand turned into a bright light, forming a crescent sword energy. The crescent sword energy came horizontally, tearing the sky and the earth, illuminating everything, and cutting towards Zhang Zizai. This is a move of the moon god killing sword, named New Moon. When the new moon appears, death is coming. You will know soon. After Zhang Zizai spoke, he went up to the new moon. When the crescent sword energy cut his body, it did not cut off his head, but was directly shattered by the demon lord cauldron. Such a change once again caused a commotion among the crowd. People really didn't expect that Zhang Zizai couldn't even break the sword move of Xuanhuan with such a big cauldron. What does this mean? People didn't have time to react yet, because after Zhang Zizai broke through the new moon, under the killing god Xianbing, the meteors of the star god sword manual had already bloomed. Compared with the new moon, the meteors were more brilliant and more powerful. Xuanhuan was like a cold silver moon, but at this time, he was swallowed by the shining black stars and looked precarious. Blood moon. I didn't expect that she could still transform. The silver moon sky sword in her hand turned into blood. With the sword, a blood-colored moon appeared between heaven and earth, blocking her eyes. Zhang Zizai rushed into the blood-colored moon with countless meteor sword energy and was completely swallowed up, and disappeared. This Xuanhuan, there are some tricks. It's a pity that her tricks are far behind Zhang Zizai. At this time, Zhang Zizai has appeared in front of her, and what he controls in his hand is 3,000 galaxies. 3,000 galaxies. When the sword came out, the sky was shining with galaxies. 3,000 galaxies almost covered the entire sky of the divine section. In those black galaxies, countless surging sword energy swept down, and Xuanhuan was in the center of this storm, looking weak and powerless. This time, she was completely stunned, like a delicate girl. There is one chapter left, which will be updated later. For the fastest update, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 724. However, Zhang Zizai knew that her image of a delicate woman was just an illusion. Thinking back to the beginning, she was so cruel. She had laid out the plan early on, giving the key to evolution to Zhang Zizai, and then giving him the secret of rebirth, so that Juxian could practice. Her mind was so sinister, so shrewd, and she calculated every step. She was so vicious that she didn't care about the life and death of Lingdang at all, and wanted to seal the lives of Juxian and Lingdang on the evolution gate. Until now, every time Zhang Zizai thought of it, he was filled with raging anger. It's not that she didn't succeed, and this hatred didn't exist. Juxian could have killed her at that time, she just knew that the angriest person at that time was Zhang Zizai, and she just wanted Zhang Zizai to avenge this blood feud with his own hands. Zhang Zizai never forgot, he was just waiting. Now, when he transformed into the Taiji demon dragon, holding the killing god Xianbing in his hand, and was protected by the demon lord cauldron, the opportunity had come. Jur, can you feel it in the god realm? I have finally come to this point. Today, I will avenge our whole family. Lingdang, I hope you don't think that daddy is cruel. If we were not lucky at the beginning, I would have lost you forever. If Xuanhuan Chushan hadn't locked Zhang Junjian up, he might not have come here so soon. 3,000 galaxies revolved around Zhang Zizai. At this time, his demonic energy was surging, as if he was the supreme being descended from the God realm, controlling the lives of the world. This move of 3,000 galaxies could definitely destroy the entire God sect and kill all the disciples and servants of the God sect who were watching. At this moment, Zhang Zizai remembered the bloody night, the day when he was on the verge of life and death, and he remembered every detail clearly. It is hard to imagine how desperate they were when they knew the truth. If it weren't for luck, that kind of ending would make Zhang Zizai the most miserable person in the world. After that, he could remember it several times when he saw Xuanhuan Chushan. But now, under the 3,000 galaxies, she had no regrets at all. I don't believe that you, a young boy, can do anything to me on the land of my divine sect. The silver moon sky sword in the hands of Xuanhuan Chushan turned black at this time, and the silver moon sky harp actually flew over and merged into it, and the two divine weapons merged into one. Then you can just watch, but it will kill people. Zhang Zizai showed a sneer at the corner of his mouth. At this moment, the sword energy of the 3,000 galaxies penetrated the Xuanhuan Chushan. Heavenly demon brilliant moon, the black air on Xuanhuan Chushan's body was surging. When she performed this sword move, the moon in the sky descended and countless brilliance condensed on her body. For a time, countless brilliances entangled her body, forming a black full moon, just like the black sun before Zhang Zizai, across the sky of the origin holy altar. At this moment, the 3,000 galaxies pierced the heavenly demon brilliant moon, and in the center of the heavenly demon brilliant moon was Xuanhuan Chushan. From the beginning to the end, Zhang Zizai had only indifference in his eyes. This was a century-long collision, enough to be recorded in the history of the origin continent. The power brought by the confrontation between the two was enough to make all living beings in the world tremble. People widened their eyes, but the sky had long been swallowed by black. At this time, people only knew that the two were attacking and defending. Boom! Suddenly, it seemed that the sound of something exploding was heard. For a moment, the world was turbulent, and the entire sky island was shaking. It was unknown how long it took for all this to disappear. In the countless dull eyes, Zhang Zizai, who was unharmed, seemed to be holding a person in his hands. He appeared above the origin altar and threw the soft woman on the origin altar. People saw that the person was Xuanhuan Chushan, but at this time, she seemed motionless, her face was completely pale, her eyes were wide open, and she was afraid that she would die with her eyes open. The entire Shen zone fell into endless silence. No one knew that when the Sun Chushan was captured by Zikanja, Xuanhuan Chushan was actually killed. What did this mean to Shen zone? The divine sect had never experienced a fault for countless years. This might be the first time, and the consequences of a fault were unimaginable. First God. Looking at the Xuanhuan first God falling at Zhang Zizai's feet, the 5 palace masters, headed by him, looked dull, knelt on the ground, and began to cry loudly. Many people did not believe the scene at first, but the facts proved that this was reality, and the perpetrators paid the price after all. First God. For a while, the divine sect was sad. Of course, most people had not reacted yet. They were already stupid and could not figure out what the meaning of Zhang Zizai killing the Xuanhuan first God was. What did this mean to the divine sect? Zhang Zizai was a young man under 20 years old. Who dared to imagine his future? All this made everyone in the divine sect bow their heads to this young man. They could do nothing but cry. Only Tianya and the others were silent. None of them expected Zhang Zizai to do this. Where is my brother? Zhang Zizai's eyes locked on the Lord of the Heavenly God Palace and the others. In the first God realm, the Xuanhuan Temple. Li Yin he trembled. He admitted that he was afraid of death. When their backers died, he had lost all the courage to fight Zhang Zizai. If he makes any mistakes, I want the entire Shenzong to be buried with him, Zhang Zizai said. He asked everyone to stay here. He and Li Yinhe went to the first god realm. Zhang Junjian was practicing in the Xuanhuan temple. He didn't have anything to do, after all, he knew that Zhang Zizai would come to save him. Is the source talisman not lost? He asked. No, I killed the Xuanhuan first god. Monster Zhang Junjian glared at him, his face speechless. When he came to the origin altar and saw the trembling scene of everyone, he finally knew what kind of divine power Zhang Zizai had just displayed. Now, the disciples of the divine sect have long lost their faith and almost all of them have become zombies. The inner world of many people has long collapsed, and they even have the idea of leaving the divine sect and joining the life and death talisman sect. At this time, Zhang Zizai suddenly said to one of the people in the crowd, "Xiao Xiao, come here." Feng Xiao Xiao can be regarded as a person with a relatively stable mood. Despite this, she is still a little restrained in front of Zhang Zizai. What? She lowered her head and asked, a little scared. No, there are too many people, Zhang Zizai said shyly. What are you talking about, scoundrel? She blushed immediately, but she was not nervous anymore. It seemed that this guy was still the same. While she was still blushing, Zhang Zizai suddenly took out 3 things. This is the 8th level evolution source star C, which can evolve your totem to the universe level totem. This is the Silver Moon Sky Sword and Silver Moon Sky Lyre, which will also be yours in the future. From today on, you are the only leader of the Origin Divine section. Whoever disobeys, I will send him to hell. These 3 domineering words made Feng Xiaoxiu's whole body soft. Too tough. It makes people intoxicated. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 725. The evolution source of the Star Sea came from Chu Chen's Space Jade Pendant. This is somewhat similar to the evolution source of the Starry Sky, but it is rumored to be more powerful. There are 2 stars in it, one black star and one gray star. The black star has endless suction power and can completely absorb the opponent towards the black star, indirectly affecting its speed. The gray star can release the sinking air to form a sinking space, which makes people confused and fall into sleep or confusion. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. If her totem can evolve to the Star Sea Dream Butterfly Totem, she can give birth to the black star and the gray star in the field, and fight with 2 stars, one disturbing the flesh and the other disturbing the soul, still playing an important role in assisting Zhang Zizai in the battle. Unfortunately, her realm is still far from Zhang Zizai. Zhang Zizai is preparing for the period of time when he has not yet reached the initial god realm. Let her practice under the divine spirit, so that she can surpass Yishan in a short time and make people believe it. Seeing Feng Xiaoxiu's crazy expression after accepting the Xingai, Silver Moon Sky Sword and Silver Moon Sky Harp, and wanting to kiss Zhang Zizai hard on the face, Lingdang said to Zhang Yuning, "Aunt, my father is so bad." As soon as Shen Xiao and Aunt Lingxian left, he couldn't wait to come back and flirt with Aunt Xiao Xiao. That's right, Zhang Yuning pinched Lingdang's face and said, "Don't be so petty with this guy." To be honest, who doesn't envy Feng Xiaoxiao now? Taking out these 3 things almost directly made her a super genius in the origin continent. And those are still things that belong to the Xuanhuan initial god. After the death of Xuanhuan Chushan, Shenzong was leaderless. Now Zhang Zizai was the overlord here. Even if he was not from Shenzong, no one dared to say anything when he made such an arrangement. After all, Feng Xiaoxiao was from Shenzong. They didn't dare to provoke Zhang Zizai at this time. At most, they would wait for Zhang Zizai to go back and take back the Silver Moon Sky Sword. However, Xuanhuan Chushan was dead, who would have the mood? Now everyone was living in despair, and countless disciples had completely lost hope in Shenzong. Facing Zhang Zizai now, there was only endless fear. At this time, a figure came from outside. It was the Holy Dragon Emperor who was about to come in. Li Yin quickly got up and opened the gate of origin to let the Holy Dragon Emperor in. When the Holy Dragon Emperor of the Holy Dynasty came in, he was accompanied by the three Hades gods from the Hades Palace. They arrived first, and there might be the Dragon Guardian and Hades General behind them. Zhang Zizai, you are back. Where is our Tianlong Saint? The Holy Dragon Emperor was first concerned about Cheng Xiao's affairs. She was chosen by the ancient gods and went directly to a force called Shendi Tianmen in the god realm. There are many ancient gods in that force, Zhang Zizai said. What? Shenlong Emperor was extremely excited. He was waiting for Shen Xiao to take over for him, but she actually went to the god realm. Are you not fooling me? Shenlong Emperor said in disbelief. Most people had this expression. If I were to fool you, I would be your grandson, Zhang Zizai said simply. If he could say this, it must be appropriate. Shenlong Emperor smiled for a while. Where is Ling Xian? Where is our blood prison talisman? Beijing Mingshen asked. She also went to the god realm. If she successfully becomes a god in the future, she will return it to you. Don't worry, Zhang Zizai said. So. Of course they didn't say anything more. After all, going to the god realm is really different. The people of the god sect were already stunned. Zhang Zizai was already scary enough, but he was not chosen by the ancient gods. Does this mean that the two are more powerful than him? Why did you pull it down? Shenlong Emperor asked curiously. I will go there later. An ancient god promised me that I will come back to deal with some personal matters this time, Zhang Zizai said straightforwardly. If he said this, people here would be more afraid of him, and his brother would feel better staying here in the future. So that's it. Holy Dragon Emperor nodded. He looked around and said, where is Xuanhuan Chushan? She imprisoned your brother without discussing it with us. It's really too much. It doesn't matter whether he had this idea when he came. What's important is that he doesn't dare to offend Zhang Zizai anymore. This is a godlike figure. He, Holy Dragon Emperor, is not stupid. It was not until this time that the 5 palace masters stepped aside, and the Holy Dragon Emperor saw that they were surrounding a corpse. This is. When the Holy Dragon Emperor was still hesitating, the 5 palace masters knelt on the ground with tears in their eyes. Holy Dragon Emperor, you have to make a decision for our Chushan. Zhang Zizai killed innocent people and murdered our Chushan. Li Yin, the master of the heavenly god palace, cried bitterly. The Holy Dragon Emperor turned around and exchanged glances with the 3 Hades. They went forward to check and found that Xuanhuan Chushan had indeed passed away. They also saw that the Lord of the Beast God Palace was dying, and the holy servants of the divine sect fell to the ground one by one. Zhang Zizai, did you do all this? The Holy Dragon Emperor said with a trembling voice. Yes, since she kidnapped my brother again, I will take the opportunity to avenge the blood feud and write it off, Zhang Zizai said. When he spoke, the decisive momentum was not something that ordinary people could imitate. The disciples of the divine sect grasped the last hope and asked the Holy Dragon Emperor and the 3 Hades gods to punish Zhang Zizai. The scene was spectacular. When will the revenge end? Let's stop it. The Holy Dragon Emperor was silent for a moment and suddenly spoke. After saying this, the disciples of the divine sect completely shut up. How could they not know what the Holy Dragon Emperor meant? From then on, Zhang Zizai was the absolute overlord of this world. The Holy Dragon Emperor would not dare to offend him, so he did not want to give up the opportunity to make friends with Zhang Zizai. Even the 3 Hades came around and asked about his well-being. When they heard that Zhang Zizai wanted to make Feng Xiaoxiao the new leader, they kept praising Feng Xiaoxiao. The overall situation was decided. After the greetings, Zhang Zizai prepared to return to the great Zhongqing city first. He did not want to stay in the divine section, of course. He wanted to take Feng Xiaoxiao with him this time. Hearing his intention, Feng Xiaoxiao was overjoyed and hurried to say goodbye to Feng Xiaoao and the others. "Remember, my daughter, you must keep his heart," Feng Xiaoao said. "This grandson is now very successful. If you don't make things right, this cooked duck will fly away." "Get lost." Feng Xiaoxiao glared at him, said goodbye to Chen Qingqin, and then turned around and came to Zhang Zizai happily. The moment she turned around, a strange existence suddenly appeared in front of her. It was a ball of black water, which appeared in front of her eyes in the shape of a human, with a strange smile on the corner of his mouth, and then he quickly rushed to her body. "Sorry for being late, there is only one chapter today. I owe you 6 chapters, or even 8 chapters. I will get up early tomorrow to write a book, write more and update more. There have been a lot of unexpected things recently, and I am tired, but I also want to work hard. However, writing a book requires too much energy and state, so please allow me to adjust. Next, I will slowly update these, and I should not owe more. For the fastest update, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels." Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 726. Zhang Zizai was saying goodbye to the Holy Dragon Emperor, but unexpectedly, he suddenly had a rather ominous premonition while talking. A familiar and disgusting breath appeared around, not far behind him. When he turned back alertly, he saw a black water-shaped man who suddenly crashed into Feng Xiaoxiao's body and merged into it, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This scene reminded Zhang Zizai of Ye Chen. Thinking back to the time when Ye Chen of the Life and Death Talisman sect also had various strange behaviors, he was invaded by the water monster. He could fully confirm that the water monster in front of him was the one he met in Wuodao at the beginning. The other party watched him become stronger little by little, and then began to lay out. At the beginning, in the east of the East China Sea, he almost succeeded and gave the entire Qingyang realm to Zikan realm. He left from the gate of the domain, and Zhang Ziben thought it had completely disappeared. Unexpectedly, he appeared again in the origin continent. Remember that at the beginning, it seemed to rely on the special body to pass through the thin wall between the two worlds and pile up conspiracies in this origin continent. They were careless. Since it could come once, why couldn't it come a second time? This time, it might have already arrived, but it was just waiting for Zhang Zizai to return from the well of the divine realm with the origin talisman. It did not confront Zhang Zizai directly, but chose Feng Xiaoxiao, who had just received various benefits from Zhang Zizai. Maybe the people it wanted to get closer to were Zhang Yuning, Zhang Junjian, or Lingdang, but there was the World Talisman King over there, so the possibility of its success was not high. The Holy Dragon Emperor and the others were alert, but it was too late. When they found out, Feng Xiaoxiao, who was standing in front of Zhang Zizai, smiled coldly and said, "Zhang Zizai, long time no see, you are really romantic, and you have changed beauties one after another. Now in this origin continent, this is probably the most important one for you." These were obviously not Feng Xiaoxiao's own words, but they came out of her body and her voice. Zhang Zizai was in a good mood just because he had avenged his great hatred, but he encountered such a change. Seeing that Feng Xiaoao and Chen Qingqin were already very worried, he looked at the Holy Dragon Emperor, then looked at Feng Xiaoxiao, and asked, "Didn't you go back to Zikan realm? Why did you come back again?" "Of course it's for revenge. You caused a genius gap in my Zikan realm, countless deaths and injuries, and severely damaged our Zikan realm. You have the right to revenge, and we naturally have to take revenge." Shui Qi smiled, and it looked like Feng Xiaoxiao was smiling grimly. "You failed to invade and paid the price. This is what you deserve. Do you still want revenge?" the Holy Dragon Emperor said in a deep voice. Such a sudden change made many people puzzled, and most people didn't even see Shui Qi, so they didn't know why Feng Xiaoxiao suddenly became like this. After hearing the whole story, some disciples of the divine sect couldn't help laughing and said, "It's retribution." Yun also said the same thing. Yuner, don't say it. If this is not handled well, our origin continent will be a river of blood. Shi Jian frowned and said. Their generation knew the significance of this matter best, especially Zhang Zizai, who had used the immortal talisman to bloodbath the genius of Zikan realm. Shi Yun then shut up, but he was not the only one in the divine sect who gloated over the misfortune. There were many people who sneered at this time, as if the invasion of Zikan realm again had nothing to do with them. Facing the questioning of the Holy Dragon Emperor, Shui Qi smiled dumbly and said, in the disputes between worlds, there is indeed only the winner and the loser. In this case, I will not waste any more words. Zhang Zizai, come with me to the East China Sea and open the gate of the domain. Otherwise, you can only watch your woman die in my hands. She pointed at herself with Feng Xiaoxiu's finger and said, her life and death are completely under my control. I can kill her with just a thought. If you are a man, you should know what to do. In my opinion, with your temperament, you will never watch this moving woman die miserably with blood and flesh depletion. Zhang Zizai regretted a little that he suddenly pulled Feng Xiaoxiao out and gave her such a good thing. That's why she became Shui Kai's target. But if he doesn't do this, it will be hard to prevent the next hidden arrow, and his relatives will definitely be hit. Open the gate of the realm and let all the people from Zikan realm come in. Then won't we all be dead? Bai Jin Mingshen was worried that Zhang Zizai couldn't figure it out. This was a matter of world safety, and it was no longer a matter of love between men and women. If Zhang Zizai was restricted by him and really opened the gate of the realm, the fate of their origin continent could be imagined. This time, the other party came with hatred. Under such a premise, Feng Xiaoxiao had been controlled and could only sacrifice the small self to achieve the big self. Seeing that Zhang Zizai was facing such a life and death struggle, many people in the divine sect laughed. It's really retribution. Let him show off his power and let them show off as a pair of dogs and bitches. Now they are finished. Don't be happy too early. Zhang Zizai may still open the gate of the realm. When the time comes. People were talking and watching Zhang Zizai's reaction. There was no doubt that Zhang Zizai hated such threats the most. The murderous intent in his heart had already expanded to the extreme, but now it was time to fight wits and courage. Facing a desperate situation, he tried to calm himself down and asked, in other words, you had planned this long ago, and the people from your Zikan realm are already waiting outside the gate of the realm. Of course, last time you made us pay such a heavy price, why do we have to pay you 10 times this time? Oh no, actually we are ready to come in for a tour, just listen and open the door, Shui Qi said in a gentle voice. After that, he chuckled. By the way, how is the sun god? Zhang Zizai at least behaved calmly. That guy? It's worthless. He was slaughtered to death by the masters of our Zikan realm. The scene was really earth-shattering. After all, the Purple Bamboo Court, the Emperor Palace, the Galaxy Sword Sect, the Wanfu Sect and other forces all lost geniuses, but had nowhere to vent. Poor sun god could only suffer for you. The process of death lasted for several months. Shui Qi smiled, as if talking about something insignificant. If you don't listen, I don't mind letting her experience these interesting experiences as well, it added. You are just a spirit, not even a human. Why do you work hard for the Zikan realm? Asked the Holy Dragon Emperor. No way, that's where I was born and raised. Without Zikan realm, there would be no me. Shui Qi laughed, then suddenly became serious and said, have you thought about it, my super genius? It's hard for heroes to resist beauties. You don't want to watch this delicate little beauty die miserably. Everyone's eyes were focused on Zhang Zizai. The fastest update, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 727. What he will do will directly affect the future of the origin continent. With the common people in the world on one side, and the life of the beauty in front of him on the other, Zhang Zizai faced a really difficult choice. Some people sympathized, some were gloating, and some were worried. Zhang Zizai, please don't joke about the affairs of sentient beings. Once the door to the realm is opened, the Zikan realm will definitely destroy our lives. You know how many young people you have killed yourself. It's best not to take any chances. Tianshan Palace Master Li Yin he warned. You really need to calm down, don't act impulsively, and don't underestimate Zikan realm's murderous intention. Dark Knight God nodded. Her words basically represent the view of Hades. In fact, this is also the view of most people. After all, Feng Xiaoxiao doesn't mean anything to them. Zhang Zizai couldn't give her love, so he always felt that he was indebted and wanted to compensate her. There were some things that he couldn't allow to happen. Today, her bright smile and the nymphomaniac look in her eyes were so real, yet so short-lived. Looking at her with another face now, Zhang Zizai gritted his teeth. She is different from Juxian, Shenxiao, and Lingxian. In fact, she is quite interesting. She is not as unforgettable as Juxian, not as fierce as Shenxiao, and not as cold as Lingxian, but she seems to be more real and more like a friend. It can be talk from the bottom of your heart. Zizi, this issue needs to be considered carefully. Don't be too flustered. The Holy Dragon Emperor patted his shoulder with blazing eyes. Do you have a way to get her out of danger? Zhang Zizai asked. The Holy Dragon Emperor was startled, and then shook his head. The main reason was that this water fish was too magical. It was now in Zhang Zizai's body. Who knew what methods it could use? It was basically impossible to save people in this situation. The more Zhang Zizai wants her to live, the more passive their entire continent of origin will be. Have you considered it? I don't have much patience anymore, Shui Liao asked lightly. Think about it. Under the attention of everyone, Zhang Zizai suddenly spoke easily. He smiled and said, you are right, I am a hero and it is difficult for me to pass the beauty test, so if you win this time, go to the East China Sea. As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar immediately. Zhang Zizai, are you crazy? Do you have any brains? If you are led by him, when the origin continent suffers heavy damage, will you be responsible? No matter what, Feng Xiaoxiao can't survive. Hurry up and come out. If you kill Feng Xiaoxiao, there won't be so much trouble. Why don't the strong men take action? It should be easy to understand the truth. It's a matter of life and death for the people of the world, so we must think carefully about it. Many people were simply heartbroken. When Zhang Zizai actually agreed to Shui Xiao's request, they felt panic. Once an angry strong man from the Purple Chen realm enters the origin continent, and there are at least hundreds of First God realm on the other side, what will be the consequences? To say that all lives are in ruins is to be optimistic. If the source talisman is lost, I am afraid that the entire Qingyang realm will not be able to escape the fate of being enslaved. Because of the life and death of a woman, the whole world has been harmed. If this is really the case, you Zhang Zizai and Feng Xiaoxiao will both be sinners through the ages. Some people even started to curse. The curses were loud for a while, and the person who cursed the loudest was undoubtedly the most fearful person. Holy Dragon Emperor, we must not let Zhang Zizai do this, many people said sadly. The life and death of one person is a small matter, but the survival of the world is a big matter. If the origin continent suffers, we will all be sinners. Feng Xiaoxiao, why don't you commit suicide? Under the anger of the crowd, the voices of Feng Xiaoao and Chen Qingqin were swallowed up. Some people even looked at them covetously, maybe thinking of some way to make Zhang Zizai change his mind. Under the pressure of everyone, Shenlong Emperor had to ask Zhang Zizai, is there a better way? Let's adapt to the situation, Zhang Zizai said. He turned back to King Tianyafu and said, sorry for the trouble, take my family back to Zhonghuang City first. Don't worry, Talisman Master, we believe in you and stand firmly on your side, Tianya Talmu King said. Dad, please bring Aunt Feng back, Ling Ding said with her big, watery eyes flashing. Don't worry, your father is very powerful. Zhang Zizai touched her head and gave her confidence, although it was difficult for him to have a way to deal with it. Brother, you go back first. Handle the big things in the world calmly. You can do it. Zhang Junjian stretched out his fist and hit his chest, with a smile on his face. If it doesn't work out, your brother will take action again, he said with a smile. Stop bragging, haha. Zhang Zizai humiliated him rudely. He still wanted to help with something he couldn't do himself. Tianya moved very quickly. In order not to affect Zhang Zizai and give Shuizi another opportunity to control others, he quickly took Zhang Junjian and the others away. Zhang Zizai asked Feng Xiaoao and Chen Qingqin to go with them. Boy, if my precious girl dies. Shut up, please comfort Aunt Qin, Zhang Zizai said to him, knowing that he was anxious, but there were some things that he really couldn't rush, especially in this passive situation. Except for Feng Xiaoao and the others, almost everyone was busy instructing Zhang Zizai on what to do. Even Shenlong Emperor and the others looked serious. Maybe if Zhang Zizai finally chose to compromise, they might take action. Let's go, Zhang Zizai said to the Shuhi and walked eastward on his own. The Shuhi smiled heartily and hurriedly caught up with him. The Holy Dragon Emperor and the three Hades looked at each other and hurriedly followed. They seemed to guess that Zhang Zizai at least didn't want the battlefield to appear in this densely populated area. What does he want to do? Use the lifeless talisman again? Come again, the other party must be prepared, Baijin Hades said to the Holy Dragon Emperor from behind. They had already left the boiling Shen Zone at this time. The disciples of the Shen Zone were cursing. After putting pressure on Zhang Zizai, they found themselves empty and could do nothing. Not many people dared to go to the East China Sea. Let's all disperse. The Shen Zone has such a big target. Staying here is to seek death. Yes, the two first gods are dead. It's better to go back to their own homes. Anyway, there is no hope. Hide. After the doomsday, there may be a way to survive. Disperse. Disillusioned and frightened, many of them have begun to hang their heads and go back to pack up and leave the Shen Zone. Zhang Zizai was calm and headed to the east. He didn't expect that he would face such a great danger this time. However, since he was here, he would not avoid it. It's just another killing. What's there to be afraid of? He looked at Dong Hai. At least, he didn't let Juxian die at the beginning, and now he won't let Feng Xiaoxiao die because of him. Other updates will be at 2200 hours in the evening. The fastest update reading, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 728. Zhang Zizai, Shui Qi, Shen Longdi, and the three Hades rushed in the air towards the gate of the eastern domain of the East China Sea. The origin continent was very peaceful, people lived and worked in peace, and the major dynasties were thriving. They didn't know that the disaster was coming, and they didn't know that some people were in dire straits. Those below the initial god realm could no longer keep up. If the gate of the domain was really opened, the strong men of the Zikan realm would have come in, and it would be meaningless for others to come. It was precisely because they could not influence Zhang Zizai's decision that they placed their hopes on Shen Longdi and others. But more people were already pessimistic and desperate. Especially the disciples of the divine sect, who had already lost their souls. Now the speed of the flying talisman drawn by Zhang Zizai has reached a very high speed, and it doesn't take much time to cross the great Zhang dynasty and fly over the East China Sea. Shen Longdi and the other four people chased behind, their eyes full of worry. They saw that Zhang Zizai was really going to open the gate of the domain. Although there were other strong men from the origin continent chasing them, even the Holy Dragon Emperor couldn't do anything, let alone them. What does he want? Wei Mingshen said somewhat displeased. I don't know, the other three shook their heads. Why don't we just kill her directly? Wei Mingshen said, looking at the figure of Feng Xiaoxiao in front of him. Let's just trust him first. After all, he has been chosen by the ancient gods, the Holy Dragon Emperor said helplessly. The three Mingshen could only shake their heads and sigh. Zhang Zizai is a person who does what he wants. I'm really worried. Dark Knight Mingshen said worriedly. The four looked at each other, their eyes full of helplessness. Not long after, the East Sea had arrived, and the gate of the domain was in front of them. Here we are. Shui Qi smiled and stood in front of the gate of the domain, and said directly, hurry up, don't waste time. Zhang Zizai had already stood in front of the gate of the domain, and the Holy Dragon Emperor and the others had also come nearby. Zhang Zizai, the Holy Dragon Emperor reminded. You must think clearly, Bai Jin Mingshen said. He has no choice. Shui Qi was determined in his heart. If Zhang Zizai had any hesitation, he could show Feng Xiaoxiao a bit of face first. If Zhang Zizai had not been very obedient from beginning to end, he would have taken action long ago. For Zhang Zizai, opening the door to the domain realm was just a matter of a moment. And behind the door to the domain realm, I am afraid that the strong men of Zikan realm would have been red-eyed. Zhang Zizai, open the door, Shui Qi said. Open the door, and then? I can open the door to the domain realm, but at least, you have to let me see the hope of keeping her alive, Zhang Zizai said. You bargain with me? As long as she is in my hands, you are my slave, and I will eat you, Shui Qi sneered. Zhang Zizai stood still. So, you want to try? Shui Qi sneered and shook his head. In fact, it used Feng Xiaoxiao's expression. After that, Feng Xiaoxiao suddenly frowned and her body trembled a little. It was clear that Shui Qi was destroying her body. Zhang Zizai. She seemed to regain her clarity for a moment, struggling to look at Zhang Zizai. Okay, I'll open it. Only when Zhang Zizai said this did the painful look on Feng Xiaoxiao's face disappear, and Shui Kai's smile reappeared, saying, that's good, there will be many times when I need you in the future, be obedient, and she will suffer less. Zhang Zizai narrowed his eyes, and the murderous intention of thousands of miles was all hidden in his chest, waiting for a moment to explode. He glanced at Feng Xiaoxiao again. Poor creature, I'm going to risk your life and death. If something goes wrong, I will let the entire Zikan realm be buried with you. He took a deep breath and looked at the colorful clouds in the sky. This was the closed door of the domain. He took a look. The immortal talisman had been used last time, and the lifeless talisman had not yet taken effect. Only the beast control talisman had taken effect, but the beast control talisman had no effect now, and it seemed that he could only rely on himself. Hurry up, don't bother me, Shui Qi scolded from behind. With the hostage in hand, he can indeed act tyrannically. Under his urging, Zhang Zizai really began to open the gate of the realm, and the clouds in the sky began to gather and turned into a colorful gate of the realm. Everyone. Wei Mingshen was already nervous, and his eyes were locked on Feng Xiaoxiao. In fact, if it weren't for the Holy Dragon Emperor's stop, he really felt that as long as Feng Xiaoxiao died, the current crisis could be resolved. Let's try to trust him. The Holy Dragon Emperor made a decision after the struggle. Because he knew that Zhang Zizai was not an easy person to control. The more obedient he was, the more dangerous he might be. The gate of the realm has become a whirlpool, and the passages from the inside to the outside have all been opened. The next one to be opened is the passage from the third-level God's Well to this side. Shui Qi can't wait. As long as their strong men arrive, the overall situation will be determined. As long as he sees someone coming in, he can be sure that Zhang Zizai has indeed obeyed and opened the gate of the realm. Just after the gate of the domain was opened, many figures came in one after another. In a short moment, 4 people appeared directly in front of Zhang Zizai. Shuiqi laughed. Zhang Zizai was indeed restrained by him. When it was happy, it didn't notice for a while that Zhang Zizai immediately closed the well of the divine domain again. After all, only Zhang Zizai knew whether the well of the divine domain was open or not. There was only a breath of time between opening and closing, and 4 people rushed in. It is conceivable how many people are waiting outside. In fact, Zhang Zizai played a little trick in the whole process. He did not open the well of the upper divine domain, but only the wells of the middle and lower divine domains, so the 4 people in front of him were from the well of the middle divine domain, and were strong men of the purple star realm between the ages of 20 and 50. Many of these strong men have reached the initial divine realm. Among the 4 people who came in now, 1 is in the initial divine realm. These 4 people are basically in their 20s. Being able to reach the initial divine realm in their 20s means that they are the overlords of the purple star realm in this age group. There are 4 people in total, 3 men and 1 woman. Zhang Zizai didn't care who they were or what their specific strength was. The moment they just came down from the gate of the domain, he directly launched an attack and directly locked onto the one who was in the initial divine realm and looked the oldest. That was a man in a grey robe, about 27 or 28 years old, with a very majestic aura, but Zhang Zizai had seen the genius of the central totem world, and had defeated Chu Chen of the divine realm. This person who waited until he was 27 or 28 years old to reach the initial divine realm was almost no threat to him. He rushed forward with the god-killing mystic soldier. Under the protection of the demon lord Cauldron, he only needed to attack. In a short moment, 3,000 galaxy sword moves burst out, and the 4 guys were directly swallowed up by the sword energy. The fastest update reading, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 729. Puff. The killing god's mysterious weapon passed through the 4 people directly. Even the man in the initial god realm could not stop it at this time. He was defeated and was controlled by Zhang Zizai on the spot. In a blink of an eye, he held a black chain in his hand, and the heads of 4 people were wrapped around the chain. The 4 people were full of sword holes and dared not move. When the 4 of them saw Zhang Zizai, their faces were shocked to the extreme. They thought that the one who could deal with them so quickly must be the strongest in the origin continent, but now they saw that it was a much younger existence than them. "Who are you?" The man in the initial god realm who was leading was very shocked. Zhang Zizai did not respond to him. He led the 4 guys and faced Shuiqi. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Shuiqi had not reacted yet, and the 4 people had been killed. "Are these 4 the remaining 4 of the 7 stars of Zizuyuan?" Zhang Zizai said coldly to Shuiqi. He was guessing, seeing that they were just a little older than Lin Feng, Qing Kong, and the others. The youngest was about 20 years old, and the oldest was at the initial god realm. They should be Lin Feng's senior brothers and sisters, the group of people who once threatened to avenge Lin Feng. It's just that they met Zhang Zizai too late, and now they were defeated by Zhang Zizai and became Zhang Zizai's hostages. Shui Kai's face was cold and he didn't say anything. Obviously he was very unhappy. The identities of these 4 people can also be confirmed. The strongest force in Zikan realm is Zizu Academy, which has only 7 disciples, all of whom are the top people of each age group, the first geniuses of Zikan realm. Their identities are nothing to Zhang Zizai, but they are still very important to Zikan realm. After all, Lin Feng and the others have died in battle. If these 4 are also killed in battle, the loss of Zikan realm will be unprecedented. "Are you challenging my determination?" Shuiqi was furious when he saw Zhang Zizai cheating. "It's not a big deal, it's just a courtesy," Zhang Zizai said. The Holy Dragon Emperor and the others finally breathed a sigh of relief. They found that it was right to trust Zhang Zizai. At least so far, they have finally gained some initiative. "Do you think that controlling these guys from Zizuyuan can change the situation?" Shui-Chi said in a very bad tone. I'll kill one and see Zhang Zizai put the god-killing mystic soldier on the youngest guy. This guy's name is Kong Fa, who is the 5th level of Tianyuan realm, 21 years old, and only a little stronger than Lin Feng. They are indeed of high status and are the hope of the future of Zikan realm. Otherwise, they would not have been qualified to enter the domain gate the moment it opened. Are you the one who killed my 3 junior brothers and sisters? The strong man in the initial god realm stared at Zhang Zizai. His name is Kong Yu, who is Kong Fa's biological brother and the eldest senior brother of Zizuyuan. He is 27 years old and the 1st level of the initial god realm. He is a well-known existence in the middle-level god realm. Well, Lin Feng? That was a long time ago, Zhang Zizai said. At that time, you relied on the Wuxian Fu to kill him, but now you have defeated me. What's your name? Kong Yu was shocked. Big brother, what do you mean? The person who spoke was a woman, ranked 3rd, named Chi Yu, 23 years old, and in the 8th level of Tianyuan realm. The ancient demon tomb in the lower level of the god's domain. Well, haven't you heard of the legend of that person? It was only recently reported that there was a person named Zhang Zizai who defeated Zhang Fanchen from the central totem world. I thought it was a coincidence, but I didn't expect. It's him. The 4 people's faces changed drastically. This is a person who has made a big difference in the ancient demon tomb. What do you mean? Shui-Chi was a little confused. Senior Shui, this is a bit troublesome. He has created a great reputation in the god's domain. Well, everyone thinks he is from the hidden dragon totem world. Kong Yu frowned. Li Zixiao is indeed my eldest brother, but we are just sworn brothers. Zhang Zizai smiled. This is easy to deal with now. Since the other party recognized him, for Feng Xiaoxiao's safety, he can only scare them with his relationship with Li Zixiao. But in fact, if the news can be notified properly, Li Zixiao can really let their elders help him, but there is no such world now. Hidden Dragon Totem World. Central Totem World. Shui Kai's eyes were complicated. He saw that the 4 guys in Zizuyuan were already extremely worried, but he still gritted his teeth and said, the arrow is on the string and has to be shot. We have no way back. What does Senior Shui mean? The lives of the 4 of us are not important, Kong Yu said angrily. Shui-Chi obviously had a lot of concerns. Let her go. I can let you go now, and the 2 worlds will no longer be related from now on. But if she has any problems, I have to let Zikan realm be buried with her. Even if I don't have this world, there are many people willing to do this for me, Zhang Zizai said. Senior Shui, this is a person who can enter the god realm in the future, Kong Yu said anxiously. He must not want to joke with his own life. As for the death of his junior brothers and sisters, he had long forgotten it. After a struggle, Shui-Chi could only lower his head and said to Zhang Zizai, can you promise that you will let them go after I leave? Of course, as long as you don't mess around, I won't mess around either. If you mess around, I will mess around even more, Zhang Zizai said. He was already scared. Even the geniuses of Zizuyuan were completely scared, and his persistence was useless. He knew that if a person like Zhang Zizai could not be killed, he would only become more and more terrifying, and he had already seen his Demon Lord Cauldron. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. With the Demon Lord Cauldron, at least Zhang Zizai will not die. Then, he can only give up. He was completely frightened. It controlled Feng Xiaoxiao's body and arrived in front of the gate of the domain. The ball of water left Feng Xiaoxiao's body and suddenly rushed into the gate of the domain. The scene of the Zikan realm swarming in and killing people everywhere did not happen as many people imagined. Zhang Zizai easily solved the crisis this time. He and the opponents of the Zikan realm were no longer on the same level. Zhang Zizai, we have also put in some effort to persuade Senior Shui. Can you let us go now? Kong Yu asked cautiously. Go away. Zhang Zizai had seen Feng Xiaoxiao gradually sober up, so he was too lazy to care about these people and threw them out directly. Zikanja didn't succeed this time, and there will be no chance of success in the future. Perhaps, their strong men will also consider what will happen if they offend Zhang Zizai. Stopping at the brink is their only choice. What's wrong with me? Feng Xiaoxiao opened her eyes in a daze and found that she was actually on the sea. When she fell, Zhang Zizai grabbed her slender waist and held her in his arms. You. Shh, don't talk. Zhang Zizai held her in his arms and felt the sound of her heartbeat. What are you doing? Feng Xiaoxiao's face was flushed, and the other party's initiative made her heart beat faster. Let you feel my majesty. I have recorded the process in the video, specially for you to see, so that you don't know how I saved you just now. Shenglongdi and others could only spray when they heard this. It's okay to be a hero saving a beauty, but he actually recorded it. Today there are 4 chapters, and I failed to add more. I will continue to work hard tomorrow. The fastest update reading, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 730. Is this the end? Shenlong Emperor and the others were still a little stunned. I thought it would be a catastrophe, but Zhang Zizai easily resolved it. How much prestige did Zhang Zizai establish in that well of the divine domain, so that these people were scared away? Being less than 20 years old, if he can defeat the first God realm, I guess there will be no one else in the entire well of God realm. In the totem world realm, his talent has no rivals. Bajan underworld god said with emotion. Let's go, don't look at the sweet couple. Dark Knight god laughed. Wei Mingshen was a little embarrassed. Just now he took the initiative to kill Feng Xiaoxiao. Now it seemed that he was too nervous. The good news is that now that the 2 first gods of the Shen sect are dead, the opportunity for the development of the Hades Palace has come. However, as long as Zhang Zizai exists, they in the underworld will not dare to act unscrupulously. The 4 first gods left quietly. They knew that the matter about Zhang Ziu's origin continent had probably been settled. His future journey would definitely be in the divine domain, and he would soon soar into the sky. Maybe, countless years later, he will become a true ancient god, and maybe he can bring good fortune to our continent of origin. Don't forget that there are Shen Xiao and Ling Xian. It's amazing that the 3 of them all come from the same place. Their stories can be written into legends. Actually, there are already legends about them circulating around the world. Zhang Zizai completely closed the door to the realm, laughed and joked with Feng Xiaoxiao for a while, and took a lot of advantage. Feng Xiaoxiao cried and laughed. When she cried, she was moved, and when she laughed, she was also moved. She escaped from death, everything was like a dream. Actually, I thought you wouldn't save me. The gap between you and me is too big. We are no longer from the same world, Feng Xiaoxiao said. Don't think blindly. There are people who are not from the same world. They are all mortals. What difference can there be? It's different. You are destined to be someone I can't catch up with. But maybe, I can make you a person like me. I find more and more that in this world, opportunities and good luck are sometimes more important than birth. For example, I have given you an 8th level evolutionary source now. In the future, I will tell you maybe I can give you a god level evolutionary source, Zhang Zizai said seriously. Really, Feng Xiaoxiao said with stars in her eyes, I'm so touched. Why are you so nice to me? Of course I want you to serve me as a slave. Zhang Zizai pinched her waist. It was really smooth, with no fat on it. In fact, it is impossible to say that he has no love for her, but Jur occupies too heavy a weight in Zhang Zizai's heart, so he just wants to help her, at least he doesn't want to see her die alone in a corner. Feng Xiaoxiao suddenly remembered Feng Xiaoao's instructions to her, and her heart beat faster for a moment, as if a deer was bumping into her. Why are you blushing? Are you attracted by my stature? Zhang Zizai said narcissistically. Roll. Haha, I'm going to take you back to the Zhang dynasty to practice. There is a place that can make you much faster. Let's evolve the totem first. The evolution source given to her has not evolved yet, and Zhang Junjian and the others are still in a hurry in the Zhanghuang city and need to go back as soon as possible. The young girl's heart skipped a beat, remembering that they were walking step by step on the battlefield of Wushan. It was indeed a fate. Shen Xiao and Ling Xian were both blessed, so Zhang Zizai didn't need to worry about it. As for the woman in front of him, Zhang Zizai wanted her to live a better life, so being the head of the Shen zone was only the minimum status. The two returned to Dajiang Imperial City and saw that Zhang Zizai had successfully rescued Feng Xiaoxiao. Everyone was shouting, making Feng Xiaoxiao want to find a crack in the ground and crawl in first. Kiss her, Ling Dang was the most enthusiastic. He had an image talisman hidden in his hand and was still collecting the capital to file a complaint with the 9 Immortals. Ahem, Zhang Zizai said with a straight face, and the entire Zhang Imperial City was filled with joy. He has already taken out the box of divine energy. This time he has a very high chance of entering the divine realm. After entering the divine realm, he will no longer need this box, so Zhang Zizai plans to leave it in the great Zhang Imperial City and fix it in one place. Zhang Junjian is here to take charge, but Feng Xiaoxiao, Dong Yangjing and others can come here to practice. After the matter with Shuiji was settled, Lu Dingxing, Ruo Xiaoyu, and Bai Shenjin finally came out of the evolutionary world. Naturally, they wandered around and experienced life again. The turmoil in the origin continent was very great. When Zhang Zizai killed the first god of Xuanhuan, many dynasties were trembling. Such an existence can already intimidate the world. Now the world is his legend, and he remains here. The Zhang dynasty was waiting intently for Feng Xiaoxiao's totem to evolve. After her totem evolved into the Star Sea Dream Butterfly totem, he took her to practice with the divine energy. Feng Xiaoxiao cherished this opportunity very much. After possessing the universe-level totem and the divine energy, she made rapid progress, breaking through the realms one after another, directly surpassing Yishan. He has become the #1 member of the younger generation of Shen Zone, and his position as first god in the future will be very secure. With such a good fortune, she didn't even have time to talk to Zhang Zizai. In her words, "You are going to run away anyway, so it doesn't matter if you don't see each other a few times. The strength you get is the most real." Everything in the origin continent seems to have stabilized, and there are no more disturbances. That night, after Zhang Junjian finished handling government affairs, he suddenly appeared and said to Zhang Zizai, "Would you like to take a look at the things that my parents asked me to protect?" "Didn't you say you can't watch it?" Zhang Zizai asked. "It wasn't so good before, but now you are not simple anymore, you can already kill the initial god realm, you should be able to understand something. After all, you have to take responsibility for our family's things, you can't be free and easy alone." Hurry up, Zhang Zizai has been curious for a long time. Since he has spoken, he must see what his parents and brother are doing. If he doesn't see it this time, how can he know when he will come back next time? The entrance to the passage is in the study of Mrs. Ruohua in the past. This is where Zhang Zizai often comes. I remember that when Zhang Zizai just got the totem, Princess Ruohua looked it up for him for a long time here. When he came here, he suddenly missed her. He grew up under the care of his mother before the age of 15. Before he knew it, his parents had been gone for 3 years. "What do you think?" Zhang Junjian asked. "After they left, we grew up much faster," Zhang Zizai said. "I just don't know whether they are alive or dead," Zhang Junjian said. He took out a bronze key from somewhere and came to a row of bookshelves. He inserted the bronze key into the void and twisted it slightly. Suddenly, he heard the sound of the door opening. A black vortex appeared in front of him. The vortex gradually became larger and soon became more than 6 feet wide. Zhang Junjian walked forward directly, and Zhang Zizai followed behind him. When he stepped into the vortex behind him quickly merged and disappeared. Other updates will be at 2200 hours in the evening. The fastest update reading, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 731. Surrounded by empty black space, there are bluestone slabs under your feet. The bluestone slabs are suspended in the air, and under your feet is an endless abyss. If you fall, you don't know where you will fall. What's down there? Zhang Zizai asked. I don't know, maybe it's hell. Zhang Junjian shook his head. He stepped on the bluestone and led Zhang Ziyu's legend deeper and deeper into the black void. How far is it? There are 99,999 bluestone slabs in total, Zhang Junjian said. It was indeed very deep. They speeded up and crossed several stone slabs in one step. The mystery of this void space made Zhang Zizai feel in awe. As expected, he found that even if he was so strong, he still couldn't understand the mystery of his parents. Zhang Zizai continued to walk deeper. It took about half an hour for them to reach the end. He had already seen a suspended island shrouded in black mist at the end. The island was not big, and was probably equivalent to several rooms. We're here. Zhang Junjian stepped into it first and passed through the black mist. Zhang Zizai followed behind him, staring into the depths of the black mist ahead. This suspended island is very flat, but there seems to be a high platform in the center. There seems to be something on the high platform, which should be what Zhang Junjian is guarding. Be prepared, what you are going to see will definitely be beyond your expectations and beyond your imagination, Zhang Junjian said with a smile. So magical. He took a few steps forward, and when he stood under the high platform, he finally saw clearly. That is a crystal coffin. The crystal coffin is erected on a high platform instead of lying flat. There is no doubt that there is something inside the crystal coffin amid the black air. Zhang Zizai took a closer look and saw that there was indeed a person in the upright crystal coffin. The man was wearing black clothes and had snow-white skin. He was tall and slender, and at first glance he looked like a dragon or a phoenix among men. What really shocked Zhang Zizai was this man's face. The nose, eyes, and mouth were all very familiar to him, because he took another look at Zhang Junjian next to him and was completely sure that the body in the crystal coffin was exactly the same as Zhang Junjian. When I came down one time, I was as shocked as you were. I actually saw myself in the crystal coffin, Zhang Junjian said. The crystal coffin that his parents asked him to guard turned out to be a person exactly like him. Not to mention Zhang Junjian, even Zhang Zizai was a little confused by this fact. He looked at it many times and was convinced that this person even had very small lines on his face. All exactly the same as Zhang Junjian. What do you think? Zhang Junjian asked. What do you think? Now I just want to pry it open and see if it's true, Zhang Zizai said with a dumb smile. It's amazing. Is there any clue to let you know what this means? Zhang Zizai asked. No, Zhang Junjian shook his head. Except for what you saw, I know about the same as you in other aspects. Of course, when I was practicing here, my speed was dozens of times faster than outside. In many aspects, it was easy to fall into place. Here the aura of heaven and earth is not strong, maybe the corpse in the crystal coffin has some influence on me. No wonder he made such rapid progress in such a barren place. I'll watch more. Zhang Zizai began to circle around the crystal coffin. Don't really open the coffin, Zhang Junjian warned. I know Zhang Zizai was not so impulsive. This was a secret left by his parents. Maybe it was the same as the God box. It was not something they could figure out now. Zhang Junjian was already sitting cross-legged in front of the crystal coffin, and started practicing with the corpse that looked like him. "You are so big-hearted, practicing in front of your own corpse," Zhang Zizai teased. "Don't talk nonsense. Maybe it's just a senior who looks similar to me," Zhang Junjian said. "That's wrong. The way you look at yourself is not as good as when I look at you. When I compare it, even the number of eyelashes you have, the growth of each eyelash, and the growth of each hair are exactly the same. There's no way it's a senior similar to you. This is you," Zhang Zizai said. "Zizi, don't talk nonsense." Zhang Junjian's face was solemn. "It's nothing. In fact, you must know it in your heart. There is no need to deceive yourself. In fact, there is no need to worry. Trust our parents." Zhang Zizai stood behind him, holding his hands on his shoulders. He understood that if the body he saw was his, then he will also be anxious, which is normal. "That's right, they asked me to protect them." Zhang Junjian nodded. While he was practicing, Zhang Zizai was still looking and comparing. He had indeed observed their hair at the bangs. At the hairline, you could see the hair roots. The arrangement of each hair root was basically the same. This is really true. They are just one person, not twins, let alone similar seniors. So, what is this? Zhang Zizai stared into the eyes of the corpse in the crystal coffin. His eyes were closed tightly, as if he couldn't see anything. As he kept looking at it, he suddenly felt a little dizzy, as if it was a whirlpool that was drawing him in. He didn't pay much attention to it, but in that moment, something suddenly happened that shocked Zhang Zizai like a thunderbolt. The corpse opened its eyes. The moment his eyes opened, Zhang Zizai felt as if he had been struck by a storm. He was just a small boat in the storm, and the force of the impact was so fierce that it tore his spirit apart for a moment, leaving him completely unable to resist. Under the pressure of that look, the world in front of him changed instantly. Suddenly, the world changed, and he appeared in an endless void. In the space, he could see a world in the distance. Those seemed to be totem worlds, piled up like grapes. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. At this moment, those grapes burst one by one, a bit like a balloon explosion. Every time they burst, you can hear the screams of trillions of creatures. Every time they burst, countless creatures die instantly. That is not a cold number, each one is a living life. Puff puff puff. One world after another is constantly collapsing, and the world falls into endless dead silence. Indistinctly, Zhang Zizai seems to see the black dragon shadow wandering in many worlds, and everything is destroyed wherever it goes. Is this also destruction? There are many types of destruction. Maybe it is a rebirth, maybe it is a reshaping of the rules, but what Zhang Zizai saw today was the most tragic scene. This is real destruction, it is inhumane, indifferent, and cruel. Under such power, life is the most insignificant thing. For any fragile person, such a shattered scene is a blow. This is also destruction itself. Since you are cultivating the source of heaven, you must also accept that destruction has such a side. Ruthless and brutal. Complex, it constitutes the whole. Zhang Zizai's understanding of the source of destruction was very positive before, and he gradually believed that it was a completely pure power with a great mission, but everything in front of him made him have to admit that the source of destruction also has a ruthless and evil scene, which is also part of the source of heaven. Such an understanding, in the thrilling, actually made his source of destruction grow. The source of destruction grew again, and countless patterns became dense again. This time the degree of growth was very high, causing the power of the source of destruction to increase a lot, and it was more brutal and fierce, like an awakened beast, truly unfolding its hideous side. This growth allowed Zhang Zizai's realm to break through to the 9th level of the source of heaven, almost reaching the level of perfection. The fastest update reading, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 732. Zhang Zizai was still immersed in the destruction of countless worlds, and did not even realize that during this destruction process, his Tianyuan had grown to the 9th level. Those scenes did not last too long. Zhang Zizai gradually came back to his senses from the eyes of the crystal coffin corpse. When the scene of the destruction of the world disappeared, everything in front of him came back again. It was not until he woke up that Zhang Zizai discovered that his Tianyuan of destruction had grown again, undergone a qualitative transformation, and reached a stronger scale, and was on par with Li Zixiao and others in terms of realm. The 9th level of Tianyuan realm is already the highest realm of Tianyuan realm. If you go up, it is the small success of Tianyuan of destruction, reaching the realm of the initial god. At that time, even if you are a demigod, your lifespan of more than 100 years will increase to hundreds of years. When you reach the realm of the initial god, your chances will be much greater. Now Zhang Zizai's mind is still the eyes of the crystal coffin corpse just now. That look is too scary. When he opened his eyes and looked at the crystal coffin again, he found that the person on it had closed his eyes. What's wrong with you? Inexplicably, your realm has broken through. Zhang Junjian had an incredible expression on his face. The stronger Tianyuan power made Zhang Zizai know in his heart that he had indeed broken through the realm because of the terrifying scene brought by those eyes. Inexplicably? Didn't you see him open his eyes just now? Zhang Zizai felt a creepy feeling. It's impossible. I've been watching it all the time, and it has never happened. This should be a corpse, Zhang Junjian said seriously. But I saw him open his eyes just now. Zhang Junjian shook his head because he didn't see it. Then I saw it myself, Zhang Zizai said. It's possible that you broke through your realm after taking a look, Zhang Junjian pondered. The two looked at each other. What on earth is this? The two really couldn't figure it out. The things under this royal city were too mysterious. It was probably too early to understand it now. My parents will definitely not harm us. I'm afraid we don't have the strength to know it now. One day, the answer will be revealed, Zhang Junjian said. Well, I'm not in a hurry. If I can continue to break through by looking at it a few more times, why not? Haha, Zhang Zizai laughed. He planned to stay here for a while to see the situation. After a few days, there was no movement at all. Zhang Zizai estimated that his wish to use the crystal coffin corpse to break through to the initial god realm had failed. He left here with Zhang Junjian. Just after coming out of the study, Zhang Junjian slapped his head and said, I forgot to tell you something. What is it? After my parents left, I packed their things and found that they left some things for us, including one for you. It said that you will be given it after you reach the 9th level of Tianyuan realm, Zhang Junjian said. The 9th level of Tianyuan realm? Is there anything special about this realm? Zhang Zizai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Who knows what they think? When I just got it, I thought they thought too much and thought that you might not be able to reach this realm in your life. Who knew that you would be here when you came back? Zhang Junjian sighed. Stop talking nonsense and take out the gift my parents left for me. Zhang Zizai couldn't wait. It seems that they have foreseen many things and are actually prepared. Zhang Junjian took out a black box, mysteriously. After opening the box, there seemed to be several books inside. Each book was very thick, as if the paper was made of black metal. I don't know what level of spiritual or this is. Obviously, the books themselves can be used as weapons. It's nothing, I've read it. It's just 3 battle tactics, but the level has reached the upper grade dry grade battle tactics. It is said to be the strongest battle tactic in the world. Ordinary people in the initial god realm may not be able to perform it. I thought it was my father bragging at first, but now it seems to be true. Upper grade dry grade battle tactics, Zhang Zizai's eyes lit up. You must know that his current Star God Sword manual is only the lower grade dry grade battle tactics. Generally, the first 3 levels of the initial God realm are more practiced. The real upper grade dry grade battle tactics require the strength of the peak of the initial God realm to practice and perform the battle tactics. That realm is close to becoming a true ancient god. There are no such high-level battle tactics in the origin continent. Zhang Zizai knew that even the divine sect only had a few low-grade dry-level battle tactics, and even the middle-grade dry-level battle tactics were not available. Not only in the origin continent, many totem worlds may not exist. Don't disbelieve it, you will know when you take a look. They also left 2 copies for me, namely Great Chaos Thunder Demon Fist and Great Chaos Thunder God Flash. Zhang Zizai picked up the 3 battle tactics, 2 of which were Great Chaos Thunder Demon Fist and Great Chaos Thunder God Flash, a fist technique and a body technique. Just by listening to the name, you can tell that they are a series. Zhang Junjian also got these 2 battle tactics, but it's too early for him to practice. Zhang Zizai casually flipped through the fist technique of the upper grade dry level battle tactics and knew how much stronger it was than the Wanjun Shattering World Fist. According to the description, if you practice to the deepest level, the power of a punch can trigger the thunder of the sky and destroy an empire. The power of the Great Chaos Thunder Demon Fist lies mainly in the use of fists to create a Chaos Thunder Pool. In the Chaos Thunder Pool, endless lightning condenses and entangles. Once it explodes, it has the power to destroy the world. And the Great Chaos Thunder God Flash can also be used in conjunction. In the Chaos Thunder Pool, Zhang Zizai can transform into any lightning, and the speed is so fast that it leaves no trace, which is much faster than the 8-step soul chasing lightning. In terms of power, it is at least several levels higher than the Star God Sword manual. Zhang Zizai can almost imagine the power of thunder that can destroy the world. The last one is a battle tactic that Zhang Junjian does not have, but it is actually the same series of these 2 battle tactic, probably created by the same person, named Great Chaos Immortal Sword Formation. This has nothing to do with thunder, but the Chaos Immortal Sword Formation. Zhang Zizai flipped through it casually and felt that this battle tactic was more complicated, and there were too many details in it. This is a sword formation, not a sword method, so it is composed of swords. Although there is only one sword formation, there are thousands of sword moves in it. The power of the sword formation must be very huge and eternal, but it must be very difficult to build it successfully. The 3 battle tactics are all hard nuts to crack. Fortunately, Zhang Zizai now has enough time and patience. He has already reached the 9th level of the Tianyuan realm. There is nothing urgent right now, so it is time to concentrate on studying these battle tactics. The fastest update, please bookmark this site to read the latest novels.